thank you all for being here today. Delia and I will just be sharing with you a little bit on our experiences with harnessing the potential of social cultural diversity in our Singapore context in this program we run called EduGrow. So as mentioned, Delia and myself are from Singapore. Delia works with the mentors directly. So she helps recruit, train, and match the mentors to the mentees, while I work with the children, the mentees in the program. Our children range from 6 to 13 years old, and we follow up with them quite regularly. And so together we run a program, and mentoring is one of the key tenets of the program to ensure that children develop in their aspirations, their character, their education, their financial values, and their relational skills. So that's quite a mouthful. And where exactly is Singapore? Singapore is actually in Southeast Asia, where many of you may know us as the tiny red dot near countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. So these are our nearest neighbor. We're really, really small. We're very much a city-state, and we only have, as I was sharing, we only have either the sun or the rain throughout the year. So we would actually very much love to have been in Spain to enjoy your weather right now. Okay, so yeah, that's just a little bit about us. So I shared this. So Delia does the volunteer management while we do the programs and case management, and together we run the EduGrow program. Next, please. So today, the one thing we're going to look at is the social cultural diversity within Singapore, and we're also going to let you experience a little bit of what our mentors go through and the stages that we bring them through, and how do we harness social cultural diversity at every stage of the mentor's journey. And finally, we'll just summarize with just some key learnings as well. Next. Okay, so maybe you can type in a chat box, what are some things that makes mentors different from their mentees, right? So very obviously their interests, their beliefs, but what other things do you think that makes them different? What other things would constitute social cultural diversity? Experience. Thank you, Halil. Maya, you're a consultant. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, anyone else? Feel free to. Cultural background, yes. But the idea of culture is very big. So culture constitutes a lot of things, which we will share about in a little bit as well. Okay, so feel free to continue typing in the chat while we move on. So in Singapore, we are actually, we used to be an immigrant state. So what that means is that people from around Asia would take their ship into Singapore and settle into Singapore. So we are made up of 4 main races, Chinese, Malay, Indians, and the others. So others could be those that don't fall under the 4 main races, such as Eurasians, Caucasians, and more and more recently, in recent years, we have more immigrants, foreign workers who have decided to settle in Singapore as well. So with all these races, they each come with their own heritage, their own beliefs, their own cultural values. So the Chinese, and this is obviously a generalization, but in just the Chinese believes very strongly in community, and the Malays believes very strongly family first. For Indians, it's their religion, and for others, they value their independence beyond before everything else. So because of all these, there are definitely some level of friction, and because in Singapore, there's this very strong idea to promote racial harmony. Then how do we do that in Singapore? So it's very likely that your mentor and mentee come from different races, come from different religions, come from different cultural background, cultural values, and heritage. So on top of this, next, another fun fact about Singapore is that actually 20% of our 5.8 million population is made up of our foreign workforce. So people who come in, a lot of businesses have set up their headquarters here. So a lot of people fly in to settle in Singapore for 1 or 2 years, and if they really like it, they settle for a little bit longer to be in Singapore. And a lot of these workforce, what we are noticing is that they actually do have some time and they do want to give back. So it will only make sense for us to tap on these 20% of our workforce as well to be mentors to our mentees. So with that, it comes a greater variety of social cultural diversity, right? They are from, so on top of being from different races, they are now from different, they have completely different upbringing, different education system, and the way they live, work, everything is very different from what we are used to. So, so knowledge about society, religious background, social, cultural, embedded. Yeah, so all these falls under social cultural diversity. Thank you very much for helping me with this slide. So race and ethnicity is one thing, religious and beliefs, their nationalities, and their social economic status. So the children we work with, they are not from out of home placements, but they are from lower income families. So their parents may be odd job workers, may not be holding stable jobs, or may be incarcerated, for example. So social cultural diversity. Oh. Sorry, I think it's my mic again, is it?
A little bit, Justina.
Okay, so I'm coming to an end, then Delia's mic is better. Okay, so social cultural diversity, on top of everything that you have shared, education, cultural background, knowledge about society, religion, it's also the way we speak, dress, live, and interact with the world. So for a child in Singapore, they would have never experienced winter or autumn unless they have the luxury of flying overseas. So getting them to understand what spring is and how spring is a connotation of having of new life, right? That is something that our children will not have understood unless someone is there to share it with them based on your own personal lived experiences. Okay, and I think that is yes. So over to you, Delia.
Yeah, thanks, Justina, for introducing all about our Singapore's culture, cultural diversity, and I think a really wonderful introduction and setting the context for what we're gonna go through today. Yeah, so oh wow, so I think like Jennifer and Halion, you guys are twins. That's nice that you're in the same workshop together. Yeah, so later on we'll be going through what an EduGrow mentor, so a mentor in our program, journeys with us, and how we can tap on, leverage on this social cultural diversity at every step of the way, whether is it from the screening, the training, all the way to from screening to training and selecting the mentors and matching them. What are some of the things that we can look out for, that we can leverage on, and that we can equip our mentors with? Yeah, and before we go to that, we would just like to do a very fun activity. So it's now time to just stand up and move around for a little bit. Grab something that highlights a trait from your culture. Okay. Yeah, so this is what an EduGrow mentor goes journey with us. From recruitment, we will screen and train them. So how we screen and train them is by doing an interview, which we frame it more of we tell them, this is a get to know you session. So it's less intimidating. So it's not really a get interview, but it's really for us to get to know each other better, for you to ask any questions you have about the program, and for us to get to know you better so that we can ultimately do a very meaningful and a good match for you, that a match that will highly likely succeed and have a long-lasting relationship, so that they have a meaningful experience volunteering with us as well. And then we also train them, train them on, on the different soft skills, how to be communication skills, practical skills in mentoring. So later we'll be also talking about, how do you in your own programs screen and train them while also leveraging and focusing on the social cultural diversity. And next, we will also be talking about the selection and the matching process. And what our mentors go through after they get matched is we have regular mentor circle, which is kind of like a support group where we share best practices with one another. We gather on a bi-monthly basis to share, hey, any challenges do you have? How can we share ideas to overcome them together? And we have supervision, ongoing support where we check in with them on their progress in their mentoring journey, as well as participate in any ad hoc activities, which the children usually, we have it during the holidays in Singapore. So we will usually invite the mentors over, because usually, the mentors, they have one-to-one with the kids. So one mentor with one child. So they hardly get to see other children and other mentors in a very big activity setting. So this is a good opportunity for them to mingle with one another. And of course, we will also always review and renew the relationship at the end of the year. And for today's workshop, we will be focusing on screen and train as well as select and match. And we would like everyone to also think, throughout the next couple of, 10, 15 minutes, how can we really harness this potential of our different cultures, our different socioeconomic background when training and screening the mentors and when selecting and matching them as well. Okay, so we have a first activity. So we'd like to hear from everyone. What are some things that we can do during the screening and training stage to spot and harness, leverage on this potential of social cultural diversity between a mentor and mentee pair? Maybe it could be something that you're already doing in your program. So you can feel free to, whether you want to unmute yourself or type in the chat. Okay, so congratulations, you made it to become a mentor. So we have two scenarios, two examples, which we would like you to participate in finding a match for mentor John. So we have two mentees here, different race, different personality and backgrounds. So we would like you to have a read and see who you might think, leveraging on the social cultural diversity of the mentor and which mentee might be a good fit in your opinion. There's no right or wrong answer here. I think there's a poll, right? Or you can feel free to type in the chat as well. Oh, okay, yeah.
So when you're ready, you can just vote. We'll give everyone a minute.
Yeah, so now we're going to our breakout rooms. So yay, so we've just gone through the screening training and we have matched the mentor to the mentee, and now we are moving towards the actual mentoring session. So during this breakout room, you'll each have a different scenario. So imagine that you are now the mentor of a different background from your mentee. How can you use your social cultural background to address some of these issues in the scenarios that we have in the slides? Yeah, and I think is the link inside the chat box. Yeah, feel free to.
Okay, I'm going to split you out in your rooms. The instructions are just before. You should be able to see breakout room 1. Then there are some instructions there as well. So I know most of you have shared on your cultural items, so you don't have to share that. And because time is ticking, we're just going to give you maybe 3 minutes for your own reflection and 5 minutes to conclude together. Okay? And then we'll see you back in 8 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, I think we do have our two main takeaways. Yeah, so just very, very quickly. Okay, maybe I'll just say it. Don't need to show slides, right? Okay, yeah, the first would be actually to that we can harness the potential of social cultural diversity at every stage of the process that the mentor journeys in. So whether is it at the screening, at the training phase, or the selection and matching. So as what we've been through just now, how can we leverage on that diversity that the mentor brings in, and to empower and equip our mentors earlier on before the match starts. And to select based on what the child's needs and also what the mentor can offer in terms of their diversity and life experiences. And secondly, it would be that, we can build on similarities and also embrace differences. So not just focusing on the similarities, which we tend to do a lot, like temperament, interest, but how can we also use both that commonalities and the differences to support our children? And I think a lot of times we tend to forget about the differences, or we might shy away from highlighting, where and how we are different. But this, in these differences, we can help to broaden our mentees and mentors' worldviews and to develop really a more accepting society as a whole. Yeah, so those are the two main takeaways, which we'll also put into the Google Slides. And finally, some of you, we noticed that you've already done the haikus at the last few slides. So if you go to the Google, right? So what are some of your reflections you can type in a haiku? So we wanted to make it something that's also very culturally diverse, because haikus are Japanese poem. Feel free in your own time, type in some of your reflections there. It's just a 3-liner. First line 5 syllables, second line 7 syllables, and the fifth line 5 syllables again. Yeah, so you can feel free to be creative, type in as many haikus as you wish.
So I think what a lot of you have shared is how there are many ways mentors can address these issues with the mentees. And one of the most important thing that no one can take away from us is our life experiences that has brought us to where we are today. So with our life experiences, whether it's family issues, whether it's academic stresses, whether it's not having friends who are minorities or of a different social cultural background from us, these are experiences that we can share with the mentees that will also help them expand their worldview and allow them to understand where we are coming from. Because if we don't share these experiences with our mentees, they will not be able to no one is going to be able to expose them to this side of the story. Many times they will be very insular to where they are, the people that they hang out with. It's always going to be the same type of influences, same type of mindsets. And that's where mentors can come in to really bridge that gap. And by being that difference in the mentee's life, mentors can positively change the mindset of the mentees. So with that, I think those two are our main messages for today. One is that we can harness the potential of social cultural diversity at every mentoring step. So whether it's at the recruitment phase, the screening phase, training, matching, and all the way until even when we are, what we did just now was just a sharing. And even then, we also can we can also try and cultivate social cultural diversity in these sharings. And at the same time, while we want to build on similarities of our interests, temperaments, we also want to embrace the differences that we have, whether it's in our race, religion, or cultural values, beliefs, and getting the other, the mentee, to understand where we are coming from. It's equally important as it is, instead of shying away from it. Delia?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Justina. I think you wrapped it up very nicely. To really, is a lot of times we always think about similarities, let's match based on same temperament, same hobbies, interests. But how hopefully this will be a starting of how we can really also not forget about the differences that potential of that differences can bring in a mentor-mentee relationship that we've just gone through in today's exercise. And yeah, we hope that this has been helpful to, start, wherever you are in your programs, what's your process like, your structure, how are your matchings being done so far? Do you have any like non-local mentors who are being recruited? How can you then, work with more closely with them to empower them, to equip them to be a good fit for the mentee in harnessing this diversity? Yeah, and I think yeah, we have 10 more minutes to the next workshop actually. So just like you all to have a break as well. So in your own free time, so we have this really exciting activity that we thought would be very, very nice to wrap it up with, a reflections in a haiku. So if you don't know what's a haiku, it's like a Japanese poem where it's 3 lines. First is 5 syllables, next is the second line is 7 syllables, and the third line is 5 syllables. And in the Google Docs, you will see boxes in the last few slides. So you can just pick a box and then just type in some of your reflections in a haiku. Or if you don't really want to write in a haiku, you can write in any way you want. Yeah, feel free. Okay, and I think with that, I will just, and yeah, and in the slides as well, just feel free to contact us if you like to chat or discuss anything further, and you can follow us on our social media handles as well. Yeah, it's been really nice having everyone here. Really, thank you everyone for your participation. Really lovely participants today. I think we learned a lot from you as well, So yes, I think that's all. Oh, should we take a photo before we go?
1, 2, 3. So, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope
Thank
to
you
see
so
you
much.
around in the next
Bye.
4 days.
Thank you.